Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. British detectives have given more details about a man they want to trace in connection with the disappearance of Madeleine McCann 6 years ago. They have issued e-fits of a man aged between 20 and 40 who was seen heading towards the harbour at Praia de Luz at about 10 p.m. on the night the 3-year-old went missing. The family who saw him say he was carrying a blonde child in pyjamas, but the child did not seem distressed. The appeal will feature in the BBC's Crime Watch programme tonight. Sophie Hutchinson reports.
Two images of one man police are trying to trace, generated by computers using descriptions from two different witnesses. They were part of a group of people who say they saw the man carrying a child on the night 3-year-old Madeleine McCann disappeared.
They described the child as being a 3 to 4-year-old child with blonde hair, possibly wearing pyjamas, which again, due to the time and the location and the physical description, bears a striking resemblance to that of Madeleine McCann.
This is the resort in Praia de Luz in Portugal where Madeleine was holidaying with her family. The witnesses say they saw the man with the child at around 10 o'clock that night. A new reconstruction of the events of that night shows her parents leaving the apartment where she was sleeping to go out for dinner nearby. But when her mother came back to check on her, she was gone.
We're not the ones that has done something wrong here. It's the person who's gone into that apartment and taken a little girl away from her family.
This is an image of how Madeleine might look now. It's more than 6 years since she disappeared, but police say thanks to a review of all the evidence around the holiday apartment, they've made massive progress and now have a far better understanding of the timeline of events that night. Scotland Yard's investigation hasn't just become more focused, according to officers, but it's also growing, fanning out across Europe. Praia de Luz is a holiday destination for many different nationalities, and today police will take their appeal to Ireland, Holland and Germany. Detectives hope that someone will identify this man. The e-fit images are being seen as significant progress in this investigation, but it's still some way off discovering who abducted this little girl. Sophie Hutchinson, BBC News.
Our correspondent Richard Bulletin is in Praia de Luz for us now. 6 years later, how much hope really is there that we will ever know what happened to this little girl?
Well, that's such a difficult one. I mean, there's a bit more hope today, I suppose, because of the attention. I've spoken to people here in Portugal and they say, you know, it's been 6 years, but why not? It's worth attempting to get people to trawl back through their memories and see what they can come up with, see if there's a clue there. They certainly don't think there's a problem with it being a British-led investigation, that it's not from the Portuguese. They can handle that, I think. And it has generated an awful lot of attention. There are crews from Britain here, but also from Portugal, even teams from the States. So the police would hope that, you know, it is a long time ago. 6 years is an awful long time to remember an incident just on this street in one night. But they would say, look, one memory might be one clue which would make the difference. In fairness to the British police, they say this case is a long slog. It won't be solved imminently. But I think this is an important step forward.
And police here have issued these 2 e-fits of the individual they're looking for. You've been talking to people there. What do they make of them?
Well, I mean, an e-fit after such a long time is very difficult, I think, for people here to try and remember and see. And there have been a series of e-fits released in this country, so it's not the first here, although it's the first put through by the British police. The significance, and Sophie touched on this in her report, is the timeline, because this now places Madeleine's disappearance at about 10 p.m, which is a lot later than the 9:15 that the police used to work on, because there was a sighting at the top of this street. That's now been discredited, so the night opens up. From 9:15 we go to 10 o'clock, and that's the significance, that's the importance. The police can now look at that night in a different way.
Richard Bulletin, thank you very much. And you can see that appeal